There's
well, I want to. We're about minute 7 out of 11, so I want to quickly say why you're involved with this whole.
Okay.
You know, you were just an artist. I mean, were you politically active as a young artist?
Yes, I was. I want to continue further and exercise my rights. And actually, if the Bureau of Workers' Compensation is not going to shut down their operation, then I want to take advantage. I've been in retail store design. I've won international design awards from VMSD magazine, the most coveted design magazine for retail store design.
So you were involved politically before your injury?
Not to the extent. I was actually, my political activism arose out of dealing with the corrupt system, and then that sparked the.
Were you politically aware?
Oh, I've always been politically aware.
You knew about politics. You followed politics.
When first Bush went into office, it was you know, I could see the nightmare coming.
Well, you got injured much before that.
I got injured in 1988. And then.
Who was president then?
Back in '88, I think it was. It might have been. I don't know if it was Carter or it was Bush or Carter. And then
probably Carter, I think, but
and then
you got injured.
Carter was in the '70s. It was Clinton or Clinton.
I know it was Reagan during '84, but yeah, so it couldn't have been Carter. So you got injured using a glue gun.
A home hobby tool for industrial. I got injured using a home hobby tool as the basis of an industrial mass production process. I claimed intentional tort, which is $1 million under Ohio law. It's a $1 million lawsuit, not to be less than $300,000, not to exceed $1 million. As I mentioned earlier, my employer bought his way into this favored status. He was a drug dealer who the BWC said, okay, you're a good enough list that we believe you can pay your own claims. So he was self-insured. He didn't pay any money into the pool of insurance premiums. But when I got injured, he's supposed to pay me directly. And when I got injured, he folded his company. And so now I'm under a protected status. I have the most privileged status of any workers' comp claimant. They have a special segment of law that deals with these, you know, when the self-insured employer goes out of business. And my lawsuit, basically, it's not over. Case law in my case states that my case is not over until I say it's over, because the first obligation failed with the private employer, and then the state was supposed to come up and pick up the secondary obligation. They established me as a member of a protected class under 4123.46 of the Ohio Revised Code, but they also guarantee me that I get the utmost scrutiny now into this thing. And I want him to investigate this Joseph Sudamak, the former medical director who falsified 2,000 death certificates as Trumbull County coroner, lied on his job application.
Well, that's something that's come up in your investigation of the whole workers' comp. I'm trying to wrap up your own little case here for the first part of this interview that's got a minute left.
Basically, yeah, I've suffered severe spinal stenosis in my L4, L5. I got a fractured disc in the middle of my back. They suspect I got severe spinal stenosis in my neck, but I don't have the money for the MRIs, and I had to go to a charity to get the MRI done, because when you go to workers' comp or Social Security, they don't want to get you. They'll steer you. You know, I've got a fake medical file, which was faked by Joseph Sudamak, MD. And that's why I keep bringing up Joseph Sudamak's name. I was actually offered a bribe by the state official to be quiet about the fake medical report fake medical file they had on me, and it was being concealed under a fake Social Security number. I do have I was issued an identity theft card from the Bureau of Criminal Identification out of London, Ohio. And the card states basically I'm a victim of an identity fraud scheme, and the type of fraud basically is theft of government benefits. This includes Social Security as well as workers' comp benefits, which are an entitlement for me, because I entered into a contract when I got injured that these things would go like this. Nobody told me Joseph Sudamak would falsify 2,000 death certificates, and I'm dealing with Dr. Jekyll or Hyde or whatever here. It's like, you know, the law, the situation was not properly disclosed. You know, I'm in a legal binding obligation, and I'm dealing with a situation in which the terms of the contract are very obscured with this basically criminal misconduct that's been ongoing, and it continues to ongo to this day.
Now, we also were talking earlier about why you're somewhat difficult to listen to, because for one, you got this this ongoing thing that it's this drama. You've been injured for years and years, and then the pain. You got pain that's constant.
Not only do I have the L4, L5. That's basically when you got severe spinal stenosis. What it is, you got a bone growth that's sticking into my spine, and it's like, so there I'm on total disability. But it took me 23 years to get the MRI done when I was being steered away from the MRI. For example, prior to getting involved with Dr. Sudamek, I had a doctor at Ohio State named Dr. Ernest Johnson, and he turned up as he was my doctor of record for my workers' comp claim, but he turned up not only as my doctor of record, he also had an office in the BWC's cost containment section down at the Bureau at the same time. So we're dealing with a dual capacity situation. They've got every angle covered, because they run the system, and they game the system, and they know how it works. They know how to rip people off, and they know how to finance a lot of stolen, injured. They know how to finance a lot of political campaigns. That's the main thing. The main objective with workers' comp now is not to finance, or it's not to treat these injured workers. It's try, how do we get access to some money to finance this campaign so we can keep ourselves in power?
Yeah, explain that. Explain that, how that works. You're saying some kind of a bonus for, money that they didn't have to spend, and why companies locate in Ohio?
Yeah, in 1998 I was watching the Ohio News Network, and they had a trade show in Las Vegas, and they invited all the states to participate, and then basically they sent letters out to all the states' chambers of commerce, all 50 states, and there's a trade show in Las Vegas, and it's like, we want it, how do we, the trade show is about showing off, your state to these big corporations that maybe want to locate, and how can we sell our state into that, to bring in, lure these these companies in. And they asked the gentleman that was representing the Ohio Chamber of Commerce on this television show, the question was directed to him as, why should a business locate? What's the main reason why a business should locate in the state of Ohio? And this gentleman said, because we have this workers' compensation system. That is the most bizarre answer that I've ever heard. And in hindsight, we look at every year they've given out $1 billion a year in rate reductions, and we find out that these rate reductions weren't even in accordance to the law. They were basically same thing with Wall Street. They're involved in forging the books. The FBI disclosed that their figures were off $1 billion for this specific year after they became involved in the Tom Noy CoinGate scandal and started investigating that. They went through their finances, and that's what they were doing. They're phoning up their books, and then to make it so they can give out the $1 billion of rate reductions.
No, what's this rate reduction? How's that work?
The rate reduction is there's laws that allow the state of Ohio workers' compensation to give out rate reductions from the state insurance fund. They call it the SIF. It's the largest state pool of money that exists in the country besides somebody's retirement fund. But this is not a retirement fund. This is not somebody's money sitting in there, and when I retire I get that money. This is a big pool of money that people pay into, these employers pay into, and this to pay out on insurance claims. But basically they pool that money together, and basically they've ended up squandering it all. I mean, they've actually paid out more illegally than the state has. It puts them in a position of insolvency. And when you look at these insolvency issues, I've had, in order for me to get my case, my workers' compensation case adjudicated, I've got a fake medical file dealing with fake Social Security numbers. And what ends up happening is I have to go back to when I stopped taking workers compensation because I was offered a bribe to be quiet about a fake medical report by Joseph Sudamek, MD. I do have all the documentation when I turned them into the fraud, time-stamped, dated and copied, and I've even got pictures of me out on the front steps documenting this whole thing. And so what ends up happening is this money they put in the state insurance fund is being illegally given out back to the employers as incentive to locate their businesses here. And that's a practice we have to stop. We shouldn't be selling, the main reason to locate a business in Ohio is the Ohio workers' compensation system. We've got Ohio workers' compensation system, and they've stolen so much money that, these medical malpractice insurance rates, professional malpractice insurance rates, everything has been devalued here. It's like we should have the highest medical malpractice insurance in the country because we're letting a criminal operation run an insurance company, this Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, which is the main reason why a business locates here. It's almost a safe haven for corrupt activity. That's if you want a safe haven for corrupt business activity, move to the state of Ohio. Look at my employer. It was a medical doctor who lost his license dealing drugs. He gets he gets all the favoritism in a workers' compensation claim. It's like, why would you even listen to a methamphetamine dealer in the court of law? It's like,
but the mechanics of this reimbursement program, what'd you call it?
It's a rate reduction.
Rate reduction. The mechanics of it is that they justify it by saying we saved this much money, or that you guys didn't file any claims, so therefore you're entitled to a rebate.
Yeah, okay. The principle on that, generally that's sort of the story of that, but the criteria is that they collect the premiums on a quarterly basis, basically. I mean, they look at that because you get new employers signing up, and they don't, the statements don't come out until a quarterly thing. So when you get a new employer that comes in and files for workers' comp insurance, then